If you're like me, you might not be all that familiar with the beer style of Trippelbock. It combines the sweetness and lightweight of a triple with the breadiness and rich colour of a Dopplebock. Yes, please.
Now you have a beer style here that I'd never heard of, and then you contacted me and you said, hey, would you be interested in doing this? So
Right.
Tell me about this beer.
What inspired me in 2007, McKellar Brewery came out with this Trippelbock, and it was a limited run. It's similar to a Dopplebock in terms of kind of the flavor and character, where you have kind of that bready and yeasty smell to it, kind of the monk's brew. After that, I could never find it anywhere in the country. So once I found a friend that knew how to do all grain brewing, we were going to do this. We give it a pour and
Yeah, absolutely. I think the mouthfeel is really sort of a luxurious kind of mouthfeel, coating my tongue a little bit.
it coats your tongue. For me, it's refreshing. It comes across just really more a refreshing early fall beer kind of.
Yeah.
Well, cheers.
Well, cheers. Yes. Thanks very much for bringing this recipe over, and
My pleasure.
can't wait to try it.
So with Chris's recipe in hand and a good idea of what this was supposed to taste like, I set about brewing my own. So to maximise my chances of efficiency, I'm going to double crush this. This is already crushed from Atlantic Brew Supply using their standard grain setting, but I'm going to modify my mill here to a roller gap of 0.030 using this feeler gauge, and that should ensure that I get the efficiency I'm looking for here. Now this is a 3-gallon batch, but there's something like 11 pounds of grain going in this thing. Now speaking of efficiency, I do typically see with most batches where I'm just using the homebrew store's grain crush, an efficiency of around 68% as brewhouse efficiency. And it's pretty consistent, so I can just kind of base my recipes very much on that. But I do find that where I go to much higher gravities, then the brewhouse efficiency can drop down a few percentage points. So I'm going to be pretty curious to see how this finer grain crush is going to do. I'm going to be mashing this today at 154 Fahrenheit or 68 Celsius. Now this beer is going to be around 9.7% ABV if my mash is as efficient as I'm hoping it will be. The main base malt for this is Munich Malt, and that makes up 58% of the grain bill, but I have quite a few specialty malts I'm adding to that as well. So I have 10% of extra dark crystal malt, and then I have 8% each of Aromatic Malt, German Pilsner and Vienna Malt. And then rounding things out, I have 5% of Caramunich III and 3% of Melanoidin. Hallertauer Mittelfrueh is my only hop for this. I'm using that at bittering right at the start of the boil, and that's going to give me around 26 IBU of bitterness. Using my Firmzilla to ferment this one, looks like my gravity got to around 1090, so that's actually pretty good because I forgot to lower my efficiency in Beersmith, so I was going for 68% efficiency and got pretty close. For the yeast for this one, well, I'm using German Bock lager yeast. This is WLP 833. In terms of how I'm going to ferment this, I'm going to initially ferment at 55 Fahrenheit, and then when primary fermentation is about done, I will drop that temperature down a degree or two per day to get to around 45 Fahrenheit, and that's where I'm going to larder it. Not quite down to yeast pitching temperatures yet, so I'm going to use my Glycol chiller to finish the job, and then let the yeast go to work.
been over 3 months since you were here.
Yeah.
With your Trippelbock. It's like a quarter of a year has passed. This beer has been aging for about 2 months. It's been lagering for about 2 months.
The one that I fell in love with had some fruity notes to it. It was definitely sweet. It was definitely a big, heavy beer, yeasty.
It looks thick.
It looks thick. I mean, the head, even just as it's sticking to the side of the glass, it's just nice and coating everything.
Yeah. It smells like a meal.
Yeah.
Doesn't it? It's super
See how it
thick.
tastes.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Now it's thick, but it finishes surprisingly light.
This is what I remember from yours, is that you look at this and like, well, this is a meal in itself, bring out the knife and fork, but it does finish light, doesn't it? It's got the sort of a lighter mouthfeel to it, and then the flavors are not the sort of dark, roasty flavors that you might suspect of a beer this color.
Right.
But actually it's a very sort of fresh flavor, I think.
I like it.
It's wonderful, and it takes patience, that lagering. It was sat there looking at me like I've done a whole bunch more brews in the meantime, and it was sat there looking at me the whole time. But it's definitely worth the wait.
I'm glad we enjoyed it.
Yeah. So, cheers.
You did a better job than I did.
No, I think this is entirely your recipe. So all the credit is for you. This is absolutely fantastic.
Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers.